Okay, welcome to the channel. My name is Kevin and I'll be your guide today. Word of warning, if you blink you might miss this one. Is that a good introduction? Alright, so this is going to be just a really fast photo stamping reflection card, and I'm just not going to be employing too many techniques on here. I did a scene, I don't know, was it yesterday? I don't remember when it was. But I really like the look of it. It was just really minimal. It was well, it wasn't minimal, but kind of an option for the scene that I showed people in the live stream. I thought, that looks pretty good. And there was like hardly anything to it. All right, so I'm stamping on top of a photograph that I took. Oh, I think it was, I'm standing up to make this impression here. And I'm using StazOn ink here on this photo print. If you're using like your own inkjet printer on standard photo paper, or you can print out photos on regular cardstock, you don't have to use StazOn. Okay. On these new Shutterfly prints, StazOn is needed because I figured it out. I think these pages are, or these photographs are like the pages of their photo books. They're glossy photo books. It really feels like that. Okay, but I'm stamping this out in the StazOn because this ink will adhere to this type of paper right here. Okay, so this photograph right here I took back in, let me see, I think it was 2004, I believe, and it was I remember it distinctly. We were going out to this place called Bodie Ghost Town in the Eastern Sierras, and I took a picture of the clouds. I don't know why the clouds are always so cool out that way, but I took a picture of the clouds out of just while I was driving. There was no cars around, okay? And it's on this like dirt road going out to that ghost town, but I took it right through my windshield that has a little bit of a tinting on it, so it has that bluish tint. Of course, you can always do that type of thing in Photoshop, but that was just taking it straight. Okay, so I've stamped out that Lakeside Cove, large, right there, and I'm filling out the rest of it here. And you overlap about a 1/4 inch or so, okay? 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch. You know, don't be gun shy about overlapping this imagery, all right? Now, when you're stamping on non-porous surfaces like that, remember, it's always kind of, you gotta get the feel of it a little bit, or just be really definitive. Otherwise, it's easy to stamp down and for your stamp to move a little bit like this. You know, it's like stamping, oh my God, I skewed it. Because it's like stamping on a piece of glass or something like that. It's very, very slippery. I mean, it's not hard to do, but like, you know, sometimes you got to get a little bit of a feel for it. And I still do. I still skew once in a while. When I'm doing it, it's like, oh man, I moved it. Not so much with the StazOn ink, but especially the Brilliance ink when I'm using that on the non-porous surfaces. Just keep that in mind, you know. And like on that type of surface, or on this foil right here, if I'm stamping with the StazOn, and if I skew an image or smear it or something like that, I just take a cotton ball with some alcohol in it and just kind of wipe it right off and just stamp it over again. It's one of the most forgiving surfaces in that, okay? But see, when I get this stamped in, I'm not moving it around or something like that, because, you know, the ink isn't absorbing at all. It's just staying right on the surface of the paper. StazOn ink will dry on this surface with no problem, and it will adhere to the surface, okay? Sometimes I use other types of techniques. I'll use a Brilliance pigment ink or something like that if I want to do a little bit of blending, or if I'm doing like a Northern Lighty type of thing where I have to blend in some black ink on a non-porous surface. It dries on those types of surfaces, but it doesn't adhere, so we spray seal it, okay? But the StazOn ink, you know, here, it doesn't require any additional sealant or, process, in order to create a finished card. Okay. So again, mirrored foil like that. We have our photograph up above like this. And if you wanted to, I mean, you could be done right now and you'd be looking at now I've already cut out the paper and everything like that. So we're at the 5.5 minute mark right here. So we're talking about a 6 minute card. You know what I mean? In terms of just the process, we've just stamped out 3 impressions up top and 2 impressions on the bottom. But let's put this over the top a little bit, okay? So, let's see. I take it that first impression is probably dry right there, enough for me to take a little white pigment ink here. And I'm going to apply it with some Brilliance White right here, okay? You can use a different brand of pigment ink. You're just going to be applying kind of a small amount of it. The Brilliance dries a little bit faster. It's a fast-drying water-based pigment ink. All other pigment inks are oil-based, and if you stamp like an oil-based ink with an impression on top of this, it's not going to dry. Probably, okay? But you can use those other ones because we're just applying a very thin layer of pigment ink onto this, okay? And I mean, you could spray seal it if you want to. It'd probably be a good idea, especially if it's something, you think something might be handled quite a bit. Okay, so I'm going to apply this right in my lighter areas down here. I think there's maybe still a little bit tacky with the ink. I'm surprised the StazOn didn't dry yet. And it's not smearing or anything like that, but or lifting. There's no black on here, but when I touch my finger down here, it feels a touch tacky, but not too bad. But see this right here, I'm putting some of those trees in a little bit of light. Look at that lighting coming through the trees now. So it's like you've taken the lighting from the photograph, and now it's like coming through the trees like that. That's what it looks like. So what you're doing is, this is just, I think it looked good before, but this is a way to integrate the lighting of the photograph into your imagery. Now, I mean, that imagery really looks like it's a part of the scene. Light dabbing, okay? You don't want to put a big glob of pigment ink on here, okay? You just put a very little amount, and the sensibility is like you're applying like powder to the scene, okay? You don't want to think about it is wet ink. It's a wet medium, okay? But you want to apply it very kind of slowly. Well, not slowly. It doesn't have to be slow, but you apply it very lightly in there, which means that you just don't have too much ink on this to begin with. Now, most people, when they first start doing this, it doesn't feel right to them, okay? They put a couple dabs down, they can't see anything at all, and that feels strange to them, so they think they're not using enough ink. But it's only through kind of repeated tappings, maybe 15, 20 taps, and you can start seeing this light kind of haze starting to appear, and that's exactly what you want. And I think that's done right there. Let's take a look at the scene. I just have to kind of allow this to dry a little bit longer. And like I said, I might put a little bit of a sealant over the top of that white there. The StazOn ink doesn't need to be sprayed. But you have your reflection card. This would be a great spot for a quote stamp in the water. Maybe not. Maybe it's a little bit too dark in here if you stamp it in black, but you could stamp like a word stamp down here in white, like especially if you had like a StazOn white pad, something that would adhere to that. You could stamp it in a Brilliance White and then spray seal it. I don't like to spray seal this lower section if I don't have to, though, because when we spray seal this lower section, it gets a little bit more frosted and less mirrored, okay, with the clear sealants, even if it's a glossy clear sealant. The one I found that works the best, though, is the workable fixative. You can stamp birds or anything like that up there. Or down here, you can put like, if you had like a kayaker or something like that. It would look really fantastic, and it would look like they're just like floating on that water like that. But look how dramatic that is. But look at just that little bit of technique in there of adding that little bit of a thin layer of white, and that's important. Remember, you don't get it in one tap. That's like 10 taps with a practically dry cotton ball application there, okay? If you add too much, you just wipe it off and start over again, but use less pigment ink in your white pad. So I looked at the time there to do this, 9-minute project, and that's pretty fast for this really dramatic card like this. If someone opens this up, you know what I mean? Especially if you haven't given them a reflection card before, or a photo stamping reflection card, I think it's really going to blow them away because it really looks like a three-dimensional type of image, very dramatic, and it took you basically 5 impressions on these surfaces, 3 up top, 2 down below. Look at how simple this one is right here. I think this looks pretty cool just as is, but you add a piece of silver cardstock, a couple impressions on both sides like that, and you get this right here. And just when someone opens this up, look at that. It's like a great reveal. And then also light comes out off the page into the viewer's kind of face in a way, because it's like a mirrored reflective card right here. It's not a mirror, it's silver cardstock, you know, but I don't know, I just think it's really dramatic. And then if you put something right here, put some sort of like word stamp or quote, put it this way so it reads this way so people know which way to open the card. They look at it like this and open it like that. Okay, hope you enjoyed the card. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, drop me a note in the comments section.